Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Len Stewart, and I'd like to welcome you all back to Goffstown Today, a local public affairs program that's brought to you by the Goffstown Democratic Committee. Our goal in this continuing series is to provide meaningful information and discussions of important local and state issues for the greater Goffstown community and the state of New Hampshire. Our special guest today is Kim Coronis, Policy and Program Manager for Breathe New Hampshire, a nonprofit organization that focuses on critical issues related to lung health, such as tobacco use, things like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, asthma, air quality, and lung cancer. The organization provides educational programs, advocates for public health, and supports scientific research to prevent, eliminate, and treat lung disease. Founded in 1916, Breathe New Hampshire is the state's oldest nonprofit public health agency, originally called the New Hampshire Association for the Prevention of Tuberculosis. That original mission expanded to other lung health issues after antibiotics that cured tuberculosis brought TB under control. After a number of name changes, it became Breathe New Hampshire in 2007. And here, even in the depths of the COVID pandemic, Breathe New Hampshire faces important continuing issues of lung health, including tobacco cessation and prevention, youth tobacco use, and the growing issues surrounding vaping in general, and particularly vaping by youth. We'll let Ms. Coronis expand on that. Welcome to Goffstown Today, Ms. Coronis, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. On behalf of Breathe New Hampshire, we appreciate the invitation to join you, Mr. Stewart, and to join the Goffstown Today program. I'll give a little bit of a summary to expand a little bit on what you said about our organization. We are a public health nonprofit. For anyone that's in the Manchester area, we are located at 145 Hollis Street. We're actually in one of the older mill buildings where Pandora used to be years ago. And we're near 900 Degree Pizza. For anyone that samples pizza, we're in that area of the city. Our organization does cover the entire state, and as you noted, with a focus on lung health, we provide education and awareness materials on all topics. When we were allowed to have guests into our office, one of the things we did as far as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease was we had a support group that met here monthly in our office, and they would have periodic guest speakers that talk to the folks about different types of oxygen, different equipment they could use, different diets and nutrition they could use to help with their chronic illnesses. We've also done presentations outside of the office on COPD. We have a program for asthma awareness that can be taken to schools or daycare facilities to help assist the staff with knowing some of the triggers that might be in the classrooms or in the daycare facilities that they use. One of the prime programs that I work on is called Vaping Unveiled, and we developed this program 4 years ago to address the increase in youth vaping, both nationwide and here in the state of New Hampshire. Unfortunately, vaping is primarily using nicotine-based products. So these e-liquids and pods that we hear about do have nicotine present in the liquids or in the pods most of the time. There are very few pods or devices or liquids sold that are nicotine free. And unfortunately for the young people, nicotine is a highly addictive substance, both for adults and for kids, especially for kids. The reason being that our brains continue to develop until the mid-20s. So you're taking a substance that directly impacts the reward system of our brain, similar to cocaine and heroin. It activates the reward center of the brain, thereby triggering a reaction that makes a person temporarily feel good. So that's why nicotine is so addictive in people of all ages. And the concern with the youth vaping is that they're priming their brain for nicotine at a very young age. And many years, over 50 years of Surgeon General reports have shown that the longer you can stay away from nicotine, the less likely you are to be addicted. And people who start smoking or vaping prior to the age of 18 are more likely to continue with some type of nicotine product, whether it be combustible cigarettes or vaping into their adult years. We know from many years of studies the impact and severity of cigarette smoking, stroke, high blood pressure, heart disease, different forms of cancer. Unfortunately, with vaping, because it is relatively new, we don't have 30 to 50 years of health studies. So we're still trying to find out the impact. We've seen a lot of short-term health impacts, which is kind of scary, which is different from cigarettes. Prior to COVID, there was actually studies going on nationwide for EVALI, which was e-cigarette and acute lung injury. There were a lot of hospitalized people of all ages, from the age of 13 up to 82, with different respiratory issues, sometimes severe enough to be put on ventilators. And at that point in time, the study stopped in February of last year, but we were aware of 68 deaths nationwide connected to EVALI, which in the end, through further studies, they found that a lot of it was associated with people vaping THC, which is a marijuana substance, and in some cases in combination with vitamin E acetate, which is used to make more of the product and make it thicker. So the vitamin E acetate was an additive. Vitamin E, when it's swallowed as a vitamin or applied topically, can be beneficial, but when you heat up these substances with a variety of other chemicals and inhale them, it becomes a lung irritant and can lead to other issues and concerns. So our program, Vaping Unveiled, is available at no cost to schools. It has been for a while, and it currently is. We're doing a lot of presentations, as you folks are, virtually or remotely. But we can still offer the Vaping Unveiled program to middle school students, high school students, and adults. And again, the concern, it is a nationwide problem. There's something called the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. You had asked earlier offline about statistics for New Hampshire. Youth Risk Behavior Surveys are done nationally. They're taken here in New Hampshire. It's a tool that CDC uses to find out health issues of all types that are affecting young people in grades 9 through 12 throughout the country. One section of that survey does ask questions relative to tobacco use and to vaping. And here in New Hampshire, the results of the 2019 YRBS showed that we had youth answering the question, have you vaped at least once in the last 30 days prior to taking the survey? 33.8% of New Hampshire youth said yes to that question. That is a higher number. It's about 1% higher than the national average. We also need to look at the positive side of that, 76% or 64%, said no to that question. So you have a good percentage of the kids still saying no, they had not vaped once in the last 30 days. But the problem with having close to 34% saying yes, they're again using an addictive substance. And again, nicotine is shown to be very addictive for people whose brains are not fully developed. So that's a concerning factor. The other thing with these products is the nicotine levels, and the content of nicotine in the products is much higher than traditional cigarettes. Some of the pods, when pods were the popular thing, and people used to hear about Juul a lot because that was one of the products that was popular for people of all ages, not just kids. One of their pods had more nicotine than a pack of cigarettes. So when you heard about people using a pod a day, they were getting the equivalent amount of nicotine of a pack of cigarettes or more per day by using a pod. The newest thing on the market now are a lot of what we call disposable devices. They're activated when you inhale on them. They come in a variety of flavors. They're very affordable, less than $10 each. And they continue to remain popular because of the affordability and because of the flavors involved in them. And with all of these vaping products, the flavors cover the harshness of the chemicals. So that's a concern too. Many years ago, flavors in cigarettes were banned. You have just traditional tobacco flavor and menthol. We found out a long time ago that if you offered cigarettes in a variety of flavors, more people would try them because the flavors covered the harshness of the other chemicals. So with these flavored vaping products and the unique design, the colorful images, the way they're packaged, they are appealing to a younger audience and a younger consumer market. Some of the things that are in place to help with that, one of the things that you hear is the mention of the sales age of tobacco products. All vaping products and the devices do fall under tobacco regulation here in New Hampshire and at the federal level. So here in New Hampshire, this summer, as of July 2020, this past summer, we raised the tobacco age to 21 for the state of New Hampshire. So that means sales and possession of tobacco products under the age of 21 is no longer legal in New Hampshire. So that's one of the tools that we can use to try to keep these types of addictive substances out of the hands of kids at a young age. The other reason the age of 21 is important is you're less apt to have older kids buying and sharing or selling to younger kids. For example, we have some school districts in New Hampshire where the high school and the middle school are on adjacent properties or not far from each other. And when you had a tobacco age of 18 or 19, you would have kids nearby, near one another, or in peer groups where somebody was of legal age to purchase it, and they might share it or sell it to somebody that was of not legal age. So by raising the age to 21, you kind of get more of these products off of school grounds, or the potential for people to be bringing them on school grounds. So that's a plus as far as a public health policy. Along with that, New Hampshire had passed House Bill 511 a year ago, and within that House Bill 511 was a provision to amend what we call RSA, Revised Statute Annotated 126K, which impacts possession of tobacco products on school grounds. So that amended that RSA to include vaping devices, empty pods, e-liquids, all of those things. So you should not have them in your possession or be bringing them onto public school grounds here in New Hampshire. So again, just trying to divert those products and the accessibility away from kids that are in middle school and high school. The other example of another public health policy here in New Hampshire is updates to what we call the Indoor Smoking Act here in New Hampshire. That now includes vaping devices and products in the language of the Indoor Smoking Act. So any place where smoking is not allowed, vaping is not allowed as well. So those are some of the public health policies that not only Breathe New Hampshire, but other groups have worked on here in the state, just trying to address the overall issue, the concerns for public health, not only of young people, but of other people that have respiratory issues being in the vicinity of these products. Unfortunately, now we're also dealing with the layer of COVID, which is a respiratory illness. So people that have already smoked or vaped or have a history of that, their lungs and their tissues may already be irritated. They are more susceptible to viruses of all types, not just COVID. So that's another concern from a public health point of view. I think one of the questions, go ahead.
I do believe I saw something online in the last couple of days where a COVID damaged lung is as bad or worse as the lungs of a chronic smoker. So I'm presuming that will be a big concern for anyone who has been lucky enough to recover from COVID.
Yes, yeah, again, we don't have those 50 years of studies and more that we've done with cigarettes, and you cannot ask underage people to vape a device or use a vaping device and then study them, because that's just not possible. So science and medical issues, we're going to find out years down the road if somebody vaped at a young age and continued vaping or moved on to smoking. We don't know what long-term issues they're going to face. Again, we just have the experience of knowing the short-term health impact for some of the people by the chronic lung conditions they suffered. I mean, there was even a case in Michigan last year of a 17-year-old that needed a double lung transplant, which is unheard of at that age. And in his case, it was due to vaping. And he was a young person who was it's affecting everybody. Good athlete, good student, had visions of joining the military when he got done from high school. And then he was actually in his social circles hanging out with some kids that vaped, and he never even bought his own device. He was just borrowing vape devices from kids that he knew and was vaping enough. So he had a really bad reaction and needed the double lung transplant. And again, that's a very unique case. It doesn't happen all the time. But the fact that somebody 17 years old needed a double lung transplant is a unfortunate occurrence. So we've heard feedback from kids after our presentations or at our presentations that they saw and noticed a decline in their own athletic performance in some cases. They found out, like, if they were in social circles where kids were vaping in the summer and then they tried out for a fall sport, in some cases, some of these kids expected to be on the varsity teams and they just weren't able to keep up as well. And some of the tryouts, especially anything that involved endurance or running. Again, it doesn't happen to everybody. Everybody is different. These devices are so different in size and the amount of the aerosol that they contain. You can't say that everybody's going to have the same reaction. There's hundreds of devices on the market right now, even with some of the federal regulations that were putting into place flavor bans. Those flavor bans only affected and impacted the pod systems. So companies like Juul were the ones that felt some of these federal regulations, but now all these disposable devices have filled in. As soon as somebody clamps down on one type of device or one company, others are right out there ready to go. And the disposables are a whole new type of device that do not fall necessarily under the federal regulations. So it's a really tough thing to follow.
So the regulatory legislation has not caught up with the market, as is typical. Let me ask, you've talked a lot about the youth usage. About the adult side in New Hampshire, or how do the tobacco vaping usage numbers stack up against the national averages?
For adult use, it's more single digits compared to what I said for youth use. Like we talk about the 33.8% one time in the last 30 days used by high school students. Adult use is, I believe it's more like 6 to 8%. So the market for vaping is not necessarily an adult user. A lot of the people are under the age of 25 and in fact much younger. They're under the age of 18. People say, well, how do kids get a hold of these things? It's like anything that has an age limit on it. People find ways to get this stuff. And with today's social media and online sales and online purchases, unfortunately, with this type of product, there are a lot more avenues for purchasing if you're underage than there were in the past with products that required a date of birth. For here in New Hampshire, the last survey that was done, to your point, in 2018, it was 4.8% of New Hampshire adults used e-cigarettes or vaping device. 2.2 use smokeless tobacco, so the snuff, dip, chew, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So again, our youth use is much higher than our adult youth use rate here in New Hampshire. And that's kind of across the country too. That's nothing abnormal here in New Hampshire. That's in general what's going on. These products are a lot more attractive to the 20-somethings and younger. And again, it's the way they're marketed.
What do you think the solution is to it? Is there any legislation going forward that Breathe New Hampshire would like to see that you think would help to control the problem? Or
I think, as you know, I think you've probably experienced it takes a long time sometimes to pass policy anywhere, and here in New Hampshire too. Those three things I mentioned: the Indoor Smoking Act being amended, raising the sales age for tobacco products to 21, and then amending 126K were helpful, very helpful. Moving forward, there are some policies that have been proposed that would reduce the number of flavored products that could be offered for sale here in New Hampshire. A couple of neighboring states have instituted that. For example, Massachusetts has their own flavor ban in addition to what the federal authorities have instituted. I don't know if we can pass something like that in New Hampshire, but that is definitely something that public health organizations like ours would be in favor of. Again, flavors are such a key thing with these products as far as making them appealing to younger people. Maybe adults like the flavors too, but you also don't want to offer products that are introducing nicotine addiction to somebody at a much younger age. And again, even with all these rules in place as far as age limits and stuff, you can go into any convenience store and see a handful of disposable or more expensive vape products. You don't have to go into a vape shop to buy some of these disposable devices or to buy something like Juul. You can get them in a 7-Eleven or Cumberland Farms. You can get assorted products even in the grocery store, big grocery stores. In the cigarette tobacco section, some of these vape devices are sold. The vape shops tend to sell the more expensive devices and sell the more expensive e-liquids. And they're more aware of potentially of underage purchasers coming into their shop than maybe a convenience store or grocery store would be. It kind of parallels alcohol sales to underage people. So the banning flavors is one potential piece of legislation. We know that you don't want to mention the word tax in New Hampshire. Over the years, we've tried to increase the tax on cigarettes and other tobacco products. We still have the lowest price per pack as far as any of the states in New England. So we haven't had much success as far as passing anything related to an increase in the tax on tobacco products. That is another avenue that works as far as when prices go up. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on the product, fewer people are able to afford it. But it's not a policy that's easily passed in a lot of states. So things like that, again, continuing with education and awareness programs, opportunities like this that you've given us tonight to share this information. Other things that we can also let people know about are resources if students or young people, if you're under the age of 18, there are some resources here in New Hampshire that people can take advantage of if they have questions about vaping or are concerned that they are addicted and they want to quit vaping. There's a program that the state of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services offers at no cost. It's called My Life, My Quit. And that's a program that's offered here in New Hampshire, again, at no cost to young people under the age of 18. It's mylifemyquit.com is the website. And I can provide you guys with the phone number later on the show. And then for adults 18 and over, we continue to have the opportunity for people to go to the Quit Now New Hampshire program. That's quitnownh.org, O-R-G versus the .com. So these are two programs that are vetted by National Jewish Health. These are the programs that the state of New Hampshire offers and that we can promote to people that live in New Hampshire at no cost. And for adults, when it's available, they can also offer what they call nicotine replacement therapy or NRT at no cost for people. And both of these quit programs are managed by what they call quit coaches. So you get a live person when you call these numbers. You get somebody you can talk to that has been trained to work with people that are trying to quit vaping or smoking.
Well, thank you very much. We've got about a minute or two left. You said you had some phone numbers for these programs that you would like to share. And if there's anything else you would like to say in conclusion, please do.
Sure, I will give you the My Life, My Quit program for kids under or young people under 18 is 855-891-9989. And then the adult program for 18 and over is 1-800-QUIT-NOW. And then if people have questions or are looking for more resources, Breathe New Hampshire is breathe, BREATHENH.org. And then info@breathenh.org if you would like to get more information. So those are some resources and information. Again, our website contains a lot of the information I just mentioned. We have both the quit lines posted there. And then again, if people have questions, they can reach out to us through email at info@breathenh.org or at 669-2411.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us as a guest.
All right, thank you very much. In conclusion, just to let everyone know, you can watch these programs. They will be aired here on Goffstown TV. They're going to be posted on the video page of our website, which is goffstowndems.com, on the Goffstown Democrats YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/GoffstownDems. Please like them. Feel free to share them widely with your friends, family, and everyone else. Thank you very much for being here today.